Hello and welcome back to True Crime Guys podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and sitting in today for Andy is... Oh, Andy, you're here.
Surprise, motherfucker.
What? When did you sneak in the studio, Andy?
I never left, Michael.
I don't doubt it.
I just, very, very sneaky, sir.
I thought it
very,
smelled odd here when I came in today.
That's what, oh my God. Speaking of, no, we'll save that for later.
That's right. Well, regardless, guys, we're glad that you're here with us in a safe place to explore your true crime obsession. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment below if you're addicted to true crime. And if any of you missed last week's episode, I highly recommend you go check that out because last week we covered Alec Murdaugh, the former attorney whose family held the longest standing law dynasty in U.S. history. He was charged and convicted of murdering his wife, Margaret, and their youngest son, Paul, back in 2021, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. After years of twists and turns, as well as multiple bodies left in the wake, the Murdaugh trial finally came to a close earlier this year, leaving the former lawman with 2 life sentences behind bars. But as much as we love to talk about Alec Murdaugh, and believe me, we certainly do, we have a 45-minute bonus conversation that we had about the case after the main episode last week. You guys can find that on Patreon. But for now, let's dive into this week's case, the tragic and horrifying case of Jung Yoo-Jung.
There could possibly be another 45-minute conversation on this little debate after this sometimes, I thought
Absolutely. This is a true crime addict's worst fear, I think.
Yeah.
Is cases like this, right? To start becoming the norm. But Jung was a 23-year-old true crime-obsessed South Korean who was accused of murdering an innocent English tutor inside their home in Busan earlier this year. But apparently the only thing that drove her to commit the murder was the morbid curiosity that she held for what it would be like to take another person's life. Now, before we get too far into this episode, I want to preface it by saying there isn't a whole lot out there on this case yet, as this is still a recent event and the verdict for Jung Yoo-Jung was just handed out last week, well, when we're recording this episode. So without further ado, Andy, be a pro and roll that intro for me, will you?
Why are you so obsessed with me?
This is the story of a girl who loved true crime. Dare I say she was obsessed. True crime all the time for her favorite murder written across her chest. And once upon a crime, I'm sure she believed that she'd live in the last house on the left, with a little true crime garage on the side, maybe married to a true crime guy. But alas, she was a true crime junkie. Her interest became more morbid with every dark topic, every case file she looked into, not to mention what she's been through. Her parents left her, no friends, abandoned by her generation. She gave into her inspiration. Why? Who knows? Maybe she just wasn't wearing the right clothes. Or maybe she wanted to be a killer queen, all regal. Whatever it was, I wish someone would have said, "Excuse me, that's illegal. Excuse me, that's illegal." True crime is just life's tragedies, and you can't hide behind your false realities. We are humankind, a complex catastrophe, and we're all intertwined through dark history we call true crime. It's true life. It's true life. True life. All right, guys. So let's get philosophical for a minute, shall we? Humans have had a fascination with death and violence for a long time. From the fights in the Roman Colosseum to brutal public hangings and executions, up to today, when countless viewers still tune in to watch UFC or a NASCAR race, only with hopes to see a devastating crash. So when you consider the countless examples of violence being pushed as entertainment throughout our history, who is truly qualified to say when a person's dark hobby really becomes an unhealthy obsession? The best we can do is shed some light on cases like Jung Yoo-Jung's and help educate people on the deadly reality that could be true crime. So, enough warnings and explanations. Let's get into what you're here for. So Jung was a 23-year-old recluse who lived with her grandfather in Busan, South Korea since she was 6 years old. Her mother abandoned her when she was just a year old, and sadly, her father did the same a few years later. In that time, Jung is said to have never even held a job, and along with having very few friends in her life, she was limited to hardly any social interactions whatsoever. According to police, Jung had filled her time over recent years with becoming obsessed with true crime, claiming that the majority of her free time was spent binging murder TV shows and reading countless true crime books. Who does that, Andy?
I mean, I don't know anybody we can think of.
I don't know anybody. But police stated that after obtaining her search history, they found multiple damning questions that the 23-year-old had apparently asked Jeeves.
Did she actually ask Jeeves these questions?
She didn't. Come on, do you know how old that is?
I mean, I just don't know if we could actually afford to put Google in there.
Although I think it's I think it's safer to ask Jeeves these questions. He's not as connected to them, like Google is.
I will say,
You know what I'm
if
saying?
I'm going to ask some pretty suspicious questions, I'm asking Jeeves. I feel like that butler has possibly hidden some bodies for some people. So
Seriously.
I mean, Jeeves, I don't know, he just looks too calm. He looks like he'll just be like, as you wish.
Yeah, no, she probably did use Google, but she should have used like DuckDuckGo or something, right? That's the way to go for these types of questions, I think. But police claim that after she researched different ways to kill someone and dispose of their body, the 23-year-old decided to put her murderous plan into action. So Jung decided to download a local tutoring app and pose as the mother of a middle school girl who needed help learning English. After reaching out to over 50 potential victims, she landed on a 26-year-old single female student who lived by herself in Busan.
At first, I thought it was going to be like when they downloaded the app, I thought it was like a Tinder/swiping app, but I'm like, you actually had to send messages to 50 different people. This wasn't like a match, like just swiping.
Right.
So it's like, man, she actually literally went out and was like, how about you? How about you? How about you? How about you? Just copy and paste in like the same message. Like, that's crazy.
So Jung set up a tutoring session with the 26-year-old via the app that was set to take place at the tutor's home. So Jung arranged for her middle school daughter to visit the home of the English tutor all alone.
Red flag number one.
Red flag number one. Parents, not a smart idea. On May 26, 2023, Jung Yoo-Jung dressed in a schoolgirl's outfit that she just purchased and arrived at the home of the tutor. With a school bag over her shoulder and sporting a medical mask to hide most of her face, the unsuspecting tutor allowed her killer to enter the home completely unaware of what was about to happen. Jung obviously didn't bring any books or study materials. The fake middle schooler had only brought along a single large knife.
And the police did say, like, if you look at the footage, she does appear much smaller. So it didn't look like it was one of those like early 2000s high school movies where you're like, that's a 35-year-old junior.
Right.
No,
right.
she looks very young.
Yeah, and she's only 26.
She's 23. The tutor is 26. So yeah, she's still pretty young.
Yeah, so even more so. She's only 23, yeah. Now, it's unclear as to the exact details of what went on in the moments after Jung Yoo-Jung entered the home. But according to reports, the 23-year-old true crime fanatic proceeded to stab the unsuspecting woman over 100 times.
That's a bit excessive, and I think that goes past curious.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Police say that after the brutal stabbing, Jung walked to a nearby store to purchase bleach and trash bags before walking back to finish her plan. Yeah, she thinks she did her research. But
Yeah.
I think she forgot about, cameras. Like,
Yeah.
most of the crime you're reading about, these serial killers, took place in the 70s, 80s. And
Yeah.
You can't use those tactics anymore.
There's no cell phones. There's no GPS tracking.
Seriously.
There's no, yeah.
Yeah, and as she found out, CCTV footage later released shows that following the purchases, Jung left the home of her victim again wearing clothing belonging to the 26-year-old English tutor.
Yeah, didn't plan to bring a change of clothes for herself after this
No.
curious stabbing.
Absolutely not. Now, the footage also reveals that after leaving the crime scene, Jung returned to her own home and grabbed a large rolling suitcase. But after picking up her luggage, the CCTV images showed the 23-year-old is seen returning to the home of her victim for what police soon learned would be the last, and let's just get this out, the dumbest part of her entire plan. Shortly after midnight, Jung would call a taxi service to pick her up so she could make a late-night delivery. Now, it's unclear where exactly the taxi picked her up from, but it was perfectly clear where she had the driver stop and drop her off. According to the cab driver, Jung entered his taxi carrying a large, blood-stained suitcase and proceeded to have him drive her out to a wooded area near the Nakdong River. Jung then took the suitcase and walked into the woods for a short ways, only to return to the taxicab empty-handed.
Could you imagine? Like that. This was the best part of the whole story. Just imagining that taxi cab driver just being like. I kept thinking of like
The trust that she had in him too.
The obliviousness, or just the like. Yeah, let's just see where this goes.
Right.
I mean, I mean, I'll call somebody when she leaves, but like, let's see where this goes.
Let's just see what she's doing.
You know what? It's boring. It's midnight. I got nothing else going on.
Right. Maybe this is one of those scavenger apps or something she's doing, right?
Yeah, but it's like clearly the cop, like the cab driver's looking back. It's like you want to put like a towel down, like you're getting you're getting blood all over. Every taxi cab driver to me is like a New York cabbie.
Yeah, of course, of course.
You gonna put a towel down? You getting blood all over my seat back. You gotta pay for that? Like I gotta clean that shit. You know, like I was saying, like you want to put something. You just gotta take it and dump it out there?
There's a cleaning charge.
You just gotta dump it out there? I'm just gonna let me just keep it running. I guess I'm just gonna stand here and keep it running.
Right.
Meter's still running, lady.
Okay. I'll be an accessory to your crime for the right price.
Listen, meter's still running. I don't care. As long as you pay this tab, I'll take you wherever you want to go, all right?
Yeah. And he did. He even took her back to the same place that he picked her up. But then he would immediately alert police about the very suspicious behavior that he had just witnessed. And with props to the Busan Police Department, they really didn't waste any time. Police would visit the home of Jung Yoo-Jung the following day on May 27th. And after a short interview, Jung was arrested and taken into custody less than 24 hours after brutally stabbing the innocent 26-year-old college student. The police would investigate the home of Jung Yoo-Jung, and during their search, the team would find the first of multiple grisly discoveries. After digging around the home, officers would find multiple body parts belonging to the English tutor, along with her wallet, her cell phone, and her ID. Pretty damning.
Yeah, those bodies were in trash bags. Remember those bags, I think I said?
Yes.
So she's like, why didn't you take any of those bags out with you? Why did you leave some of them at your house, some of them here?
Well, because she must have truly enjoyed some aspect of it and wanted a memento. Officers also returned to the wooded area that the taxi driver took Jung to that previous night, and it wouldn't take them long to discover the very poorly hidden suitcase. Surprise! Inside the case was more of the remains of the 26-year-old college student that Jung Yoo-Jung had just brutally dismembered.
Yeah, it was not very well. It was literally just kind of tossed in a bush. Like she didn't even bury it, didn't do it. Like it was literally like a drop off, like a late night drop off. Like it was like an Uber Eats run.
Which, that would have worked, had you not had a stranger drive you out to that area. So now the police had a basic idea of what happened, but they had no idea why. And so initially they just assumed that it was an argument or something that got out of hand, but it wouldn't take long to realize that this was not a crime of passion. Jung Yoo-Jung would confess to the police that she had killed the 26-year-old student just out of curiosity. She stated that she just wanted to know what it was like to murder another person. In order to make it look like the victim had disappeared, Jung kept the victim's mobile phone, ID card, and wallet, attempting to commit a perfect crime. Police were shocked by this confession, of course, but with all the evidence that was stacked against Jung, the officers had no choice but to believe her story.
How is this a perfect crime if you still have all the evidence? Like that's part. Yeah. If a crime occurs, you want to make sure there's no evidence, and by making sure you have all the evidence with you, it's not the way to commit a perfect crime.
No. Because especially when you're the main suspect.
Yeah.
Like they had this app and a meeting scheduled and all this. So yeah. And with that, Jung Yoo-Jung was charged with the murder of the 26-year-old Busan student and would await her trial later this year. Now, South Korea does things a bit more quickly than the U.S. when it comes to court systems and murder trials. And it would be in November of 2023 when Jung Yoo-Jung was sentenced to life in prison for the murder and dismemberment that she committed this past May.
Yeah, there is not a break in those cases, is there? It's literally like, oh, okay, so you're charged with this. All right, we'll see. Are you free Tuesday? Yeah, we'll see you Tuesday for your sentencing.
Yeah, they're not fucking around, dude. During the trial, Jung would plead insanity by claiming that she had hallucinations and heard voices that were telling her to do what she did. But court officials and prosecutors were able to prove through her internet history and careful, well, at least in some ways, planning of the murder, that she was very much in control of her own actions. The headlines have continued to fly about true crime fan kills and does true crime obsession lead to murder? But at the end of the day, regardless of your obsessions and interests, your actions are your own. And just like Jung, you will face those consequences on your own. But yeah, guys, like I alluded to at the beginning, there's not a whole lot of information out there on this case. This is just something that we felt like we really needed to cover. Just the headline alone, the South Korean true crime fan who became obsessed with murder to the point of no return, something we felt like we needed to cover. And in all fairness, I felt like it was something that we should cover.
I feel like it's
Really,
something that a lot of true crime podcasts should, they all have to address this. They all have to address the fact that, like,
Unfortunately,
yes, we are trying to educate and we're trying to entertain and we're all trying to have a good time here. We all want to make this information known, but it's like, even we know that we have to research this stuff delicately to where it does not become an unhealthy obsession. It's like,
yeah.
It's a weird balance you have to take with this information.
There's a lot of important things that you got to keep in mind when you study true crime all the time. I think, for one, is compartmentalizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, number one, no one should study negative things all of the time. I don't care what kind of piece it gives you. Eventually, I feel like it's gonna overlap. You know what I'm saying? So you got to kind of balance that. But we do have to address the fact that this newfound obsession with true crime has encouraged some people, some idiots. Now, would they have acted out like would have Jung Yoo acted out anyways? Maybe. Possibly in some other way. Maybe she just wouldn't have gotten there as quickly.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just like, it's like the old adage, well, GTA creates criminals. Well, it's probably credited to some. It's probably credited to some, but to say that is just a false statement.
Yeah.
To say that video games lead to violence. Yes, they have created some. But I mean, movies have given people ideas of heists and awful murders and killings and things like that. So it's like, but I think in order to cross that line, to go into that darker territory, you already had that in you already.
Yeah, when you're
know
watching
what I'm
true
saying?
crime documentaries or you're reading true crime books and there's a healthy obsession with becoming prepared or being a bit paranoid of the worst case scenario.
Right.
That's a different healthy obsession. Where you're like, oh no, I know the worst things that can happen, so I'm a bit prepared for the worst case scenario.
Right.
But when you start looking at these things as like well, I see how they didn't get away with it. So that's how you avoid that. Or like you start looking at these things as almost like
is that a bad thing, Andy? Is
yeah,
that
when you start like looking at the things like you're like an armchair quarterback for a serial killer,
Right,
being like
right.
just sitting there, it's like, oh, why'd you run it then? Like
Right.
you're
Yeah, if you got a friend coming up to you and be like, yeah, I heard your episode on Randy Kraft. What was some of the other things in his toolkit? What was some of the
you didn't really
tape? Okay, what else? Yeah, it's like, well, hold on.
hold on. This isn't. Is that a shopping
Are you writing
list?
that down? Don't. No.
Are you putting that on you? That says shopping list. Why are you? No, there is a weird little. There's an edge you have to walk where you have to watch these things and you be like, yes, you can look at the criminals and see their mistakes in like a dummy, and not like a well, I would have done it this. Yeah, you can't start looking at it. It's like, well, how would I do this?
Right.
That's where that obsession starts coming in. And I still think that these headlines for this episode, like the headlines for the articles, they just don't do it justice.
They
Like
really don't.
It's almost like a clickbait type situation where it's this like, oh, a true crime fan kills. And it's like, is she obsessed with true crime, or is she just, did she already just have a bit of a darker desire to do this? Because again, she stabbed this girl over 100 times.
100 times with no hesitation, apparently. Like, because we don't see any. I mean, she didn't bring anything to trick this girl, like we mentioned in the case. You know, she didn't bring any books. She didn't like, oh, let me sit down, and while she turns her back to go get me some tea, then I stab her. It's like, no, apparently she went right after her.
Yeah, there is. We don't know the details of all the incidences that happened because this is a South Korean case. They haven't released all the in-depth detail. Like I said, this court case happened within a few months, and she's already serving life in prison.
You know what I think, though, Andy? I think this is more of a case for nurture. Just being the fact that her parents left her. I don't care how good of a guardian her grandfather was. Mm-hmm. Still, the fact that both of your parents, your biological parents, leave you, that has to leave some type of hole.
Oh, she
especially
openly,
at a young age, right? And then you combine that with being a hermit, never coming out, being a recluse, never talking to anyone, not having any friends, outside goals, not having money to support yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like you stay in your own room, in your own head, in these own books, and you just become more and more radicalized, but also at the same time disconnected from humanity.
Yeah.
And at such a young and pivotal age.
She openly has said that she is very upset about her father leaving her at 6 years old and her mother leaving her. One of her internet search histories was like looking up the term for killing a family member. And I think her father did say that she called him the day of the murder and made some sort of threats to him. So
Okay.
even her like family, even though they're not really in her life, even
Right.
they all knew. They're like, this is not okay. Like we need to tell this people that she's not mentally stable. Like it's not it's not like a true crime obsession that she's obsessed with. She's not mentally stable.
But she was. But
Well, mentally,
but what you're trying
yeah.
to say is she could have got addicted or obsessed with anything, right?
Yeah, like this
and
girl
it happened
already
to be true
had-
crime, and
Well, I
so
think
she
that-
wanted to take part in it.
I think this girl already had dark tendencies. She was already hurt. She was already angry. She was
Yeah,
already
yeah.
doing these things. And yes, she may have watched these books. She may have watched these documentaries. She may have looked up some dark internet histories. But I think she was already going to hurt somebody regardless. I don't think it was the true crime obsession that made her hurt somebody.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to say about these articles. It's like, I don't think it was the true crime obsession that led her to murder.
Right.
I think she was going to hurt somebody regardless.
Right.
And she just happened to also have an interest in this passing thing. And looked
Or
up things
she
like
was going to
that.
hurt somebody and decided, I need to study up on how to hurt somebody
Yeah.
and get away with it.
Or how do I do these things? That was a lot of her search histories, like
Yeah.
different ways to kill people, different ways to get dispose of bodies, how to not get caught, and
Right. That's absurd that she just thought that. I mean, you study true crime, allegedly, but yet that's what makes me question a lot of it. It's like I hate to be that guy, but it's like, excuse me, if you're actually a true crime, you made some really rookie mistakes. Nah.
yeah, I felt the same way reading about
You hate
this,
to
being
be
like,
that guy.
like I'm not a
But
true
I'm
crime
like-
obsessed, but like, listen, I'm a true crime educated. Like it's
But what I'm getting at is, what does it take for the media to write true crime obsessed, true crime fan, true crime, person takes it too far or whatever? Like, what does it take to do that? Do they find a couple Anne rule books in her room? Right? Is 5 out of her last 10 searches about crimes? It's like, what is it?
a copy of Helter Skelter on the nightstand.
Exactly. Like, what is it that makes them obsessed? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to take that with a grain of salt anytime it's a headline this big.
Well, I do think that this also may stem from it being a South Korean case, but there's not so much information released about it. So most of the headlines that have been released have come from the South Korean police and their like PR.
Right,
It's come
right.
from this, this girl was obsessed with true crime, all of her search histories, and she's been watching watching TV series and movies. And so it's like, we don't even know fully because there hasn't been a lot of real journalistic investigation into this case yet. There hasn't been a documentary made. There hasn't been a real sit down interview with her with like so all of these things are being told to us from the perspective of the police and the PR and the district attorneys and like the prosecutors. So
Right.
that's where these headlines are coming from. So that's the only reason I can think that if we had a real,
I'm talking about the clickbait headlines.
yeah,
though,
it's like,
you know what I'm saying?
I feel like if we had an investigation, like a real journalistic interview, then it wouldn't be that headline. We wouldn't have the true crime obsessed. It would be something else. But since that's the only information we're getting from the police and the prosecutors, that's
Yeah.
what all the headlines are going with.
Yeah. And it does seem pretty cut and dry. I mean, she did seem quite obsessed with it. And she did have, a plan. She had an obvious plan, whether she's insane or not. That level of planning, that level of, of cleanup, and even though as shitty as it was, still, it has to say that she knew what she was doing, and she's a danger to society.
The fact that she was trying to get away with it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you clearly understand the difference between right and wrong.
Right.
So you're not
Also,
it's like you're not insane because you know what you're doing is wrong and you're trying to cover it up.
We've talked about
So-
this so many times and through over so many cases, and we talk about it's always shocking when a case is this brutal and it's their first offense.
Mm-hmm.
You always have to wonder. It's like, man, was this her first offense? Maybe her first offense on a person.
True,
You know
possibly.
what I'm saying? But was she killing animals or something? Because this is just 100 times, and then you cut the body up and put it in different pieces.
Yeah.
At 23 years old, you've never been violent before.
But yeah, like this.
See what I'm saying? Like
that explosion
If
of
you-
rage is just
let me
like
put
that's
you
so
this-
crazy for a first time.
It is, and being able to just go through with that, like for instance, if you found the suitcase in the woods, Andy, with no background, you would think we got a damn serial killer, or this
Yep.
is some fucking organized
Yakuza-
crime shit.
Yeah, like some kind of Yakuza, or
Yakuza.
gang or some
Like, this
kind of
is-
South Korea, but yeah, like
the mafia,
organized crime.
whatever the South Korea mafia is, something like that. Because this is freaking brutal. It's insane. You would have never. The plan might have worked if the taxi driver doesn't say something. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you don't have to involve a taxi driver in this. When you're like, that's the one thing. It's like if the fact that you let somebody clearly see you do this.
It's terrifying because
Yeah.
she was so far away from the typical culprit of this type of crime that I really don't think she would have been suspected unless they connect the dots with that tutor app.
Yeah.
Right? Which they would have done because I don't know, she had her cell phone.
Yeah.
So they couldn't have found her cell phone if it wasn't for the taxi driver. See what I'm saying? The taxi
she
driver.
made a lot of mistakes. That's what I said. This is clearly not a New York taxi driver.
This taxi driver, man, hero in this case.
He was paying attention. Good job, taxi drivers, for paying attention.
Paying a lot of attention.
You know what? They got their head on a swivel.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you have to no matter what you do for a living, you got to have your head on a swivel when you out, right? And you also got to be smelling good when you're out, Andy.
I knew you were going to segue somehow.
Did you?
I knew you were going to get that segue in
right
here.
into Oh My Gaia. That's
just
how I
going
do
to
it.
slip on in, smelling great. What's up?
That's
it's Oh My Gaia.
It's Oh My Gaia, an innovative, all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. And guys, at Oh My Gaia, they have all of your favorite scents and deodorant, scented oils, and beard oils like vanilla, cherry almond, sandalwood, lavender, lemongrass, Egyptian musk, coconut, dreamsicle, leather, lumberjack, honeysuckle, fireside. And we have our own scent, True Crime Pine. And guys, that's not all of the scents. Please, ohmygaia.com and check it out. But we have our own scent called True Crime Pine. Great place to start if you don't know where. And because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can use the code word CREEPER for 15% off your order. That's CREEPER for 15% off your order at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram. Make sure you give them a follow, or ohmygaia.com, ohmygaia.com. And don't forget that code word CREEPER, guys. You will not regret it.
I'm going to start putting a different accent at the top of each list for each episode.
Yeah.
Be like, all right, Michael, you're going to read this list in Scottish.
Yeah, I would like if you just mixed all the scents up, just mix them all up so I don't have to mix them up on the fly.
Oh, so you start having to just all right, let's get this rap going. I got to get a rhythm here. Get a rhythm here.
Yeah, it'd be good if they rhyme too. That'd be good, Andy.
Can we get some?
If you could get on that?
Can we get some onomatopoeia in here?
Yeah.
Can we get some?
That would be nice. It would make our ads much more entertaining.
Right? Yeah. Get the light
But
show
guys,
going.
yes, please support Oh My Gaia or any ads that you hear in our show. That helps us out a ton when you support our sponsors. Another thing that helps us out a ton is Patreon. Patreon.com/True Crime Guys. If you love what we do here, there is tons of extra content for you. Speaking, like we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, we have an extra 45-minute conversation on Patreon right now that we basically recorded after the Alec Murdaugh case. Me and Andy were sitting here and we just couldn't shut up about it. And I was like, let's turn those mics back on, dude. Let's just record another episode.
We have opinions.
Yeah, so we got all our opinions out and all of our controversial statements out on that show on Patreon. So if you guys want to check that out. But in addition to that, there are hundreds and hundreds of sound files, Patreon exclusives dating back to 2017, Sandu stories, strange shorts, higher thoughts, and so much more, guys. So patreon.com/True Crime Guys, where for just $5 a month, you get access to all of that good stuff. Also, if you're listening on Spotify, please leave a review, or if you're on Apple Podcast, please leave a review. That helps out the show a ton, guys. And make sure you follow us on there, as well as on social media at True Crime Guys, wherever you are, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or X, Elon Musk's social website. What else? Also, remember, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, share with your friends. We appreciate you very, very much. Leave a comment if you have a case suggestion below this video or anywhere on social media at gmail.com, truecrimeguys@gmail.com. You guys can reach us there, okay? Links to everything I mentioned below the episode. Am I missing anything, Andy?
I don't think so, Michael. I think you did pretty good. I think you got it all out.
It feels good to get it all out. I mean, half our listeners aren't even listening to this anyways. They've done clocked out after the story. So
the most important ones are, though.
The most important ones are. Thank you guys for sticking around.
Or the ones who are just dozing off. We love you too.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it. Go listen to some True Crime Guys music on Spotify if you got some time. And I guess we'll see you next week with a new true crime case. Hopefully it doesn't inspire anyone to do some crazy stuff.
We'll try and keep our inspiration very low.
That's right, guys. Keep creeping.
Bye.